Welcome to Love and Lightning. First comes love, and then comes lightning. I'm your host, Nicole Pelham. Welcome to a soul-charged journey where heart meets power and is transformed in strikes of lightning. All waters lead to the same place, love, and in an ever-expanding universe, stretching and unfolding, sending out waves of love and light, you are not a small part. You are an outsized part of the universe's plan. Here on Love and Lightning, we explore the intersection of spirituality, science, politics, religion, and the one thing we're all searching for, love and acceptance. The kind that reminds us that the universe made us perfectly and that you are in this moment exactly where you're meant to be. Get ready to be inspired with hope for the future, strengthen your path, and bolts of lightning to awaken your soul. Welcome to Love and Lightning. Let's get started. Oh, hello, wonderful beings. I'm Nicole. This is Love and Lightning on Transformation Talk Radio, or you can get it at www.loveandlightning.com or wherever you get your podcasts, whenever you get your podcast, whenever the universe brings something to you. That's when you're meant to have it. If you're watching me live, welcome in. If you're watching this later, hey, welcome in too. Today, we're going to be talking about a subject that is near and dear to my heart, and that is your kid's an ass. The first step is admitting you may have a problem. I wrote that title quite a while ago when I was probably 23, 24. I've been doing childcare for a long time. We had a childcare center in my parents' not sub, it was like sub basement when we were in Wichita that we had for years. And then we moved up here. We also had a home daycare. And as any entrepreneur child knows, if your parents have a home business, you are an employee. So lots of helping, watching the kids, cleaning up, and changing, taking out the pails. I don't think I got to change diapers until I was a little bit older, but maybe my sisters, but taking out the pails, things like that I just did, and I've been doing that for quite a while, pretty much my whole life. So about 30 years of really intense childcare experience, where I actually had like teaching and learning. Before that, all of the free employee stuff. And so taking care of children is like a very important uh, thing to me. It's one of those things that I feel like, well, parents are just they're just a little stressed. And so what I'm hoping in this episode is to bring out both that title to bring people in. You gotta do that little boom to scare people and bring people in, but also to make you all relax that you are doing just fine and everything is gonna be fine. Like I was telling Sierra, I wrote this title probably when I was 23, 24, and now I'm 46. So I've gone through several generations of childcare. We have parents that bring back their kids and then grandparents that bring back their kids. So we've seen kids grow up quite a bit. And of course, I've met other adults, like all of us that we met as children and now see them as adults. And most of them are doing just fine. And so that's kind of the topic of today. But before we get too into the weeds with that, Sierra, how are you?
I am so good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's wonderful to have you back. You're doing a great job as the producer. I'm actually not doing a good job of that. I listen to enough radio to be like, you're supposed to say at the end of the thing, thank you to your producer. And I never do. So thank you, Sierra.
Of course, anytime.
Can you roll the wonderful helper video we have for this show?
Of course, here it comes.
Here's the news you might have missed. Egypt just eliminated malaria after 6,000 years of fighting it. There since the pyramids and the mummies, and now it's gone forever. Jordan just became the first country ever to eliminate leprosy. You know, leprosy, the ancient disease from the Bible, gone. In fact, 7 countries have eliminated a disease in the last 3 months. And there's more because we're also seeing the biggest wave of ocean protection in history. The Azores just created a sanctuary the size of Arizona. And my favorite story of all, 17 countries have recently committed to ban hitting children as punishment. That's hundreds of millions of kids who are going to grow up in a less violent world. These victories happen quietly, but they are literally changing history. There are terrible things happening in the world, but not everything is terrible.
I love that one because it's a new person. I don't think I've shown you guys him, but I forgot his name. I think it's Ted Toke. I'm not positive. I will have to post that later. Hey, Sarah, have you heard of any good, wonderful news recently?
Um, I'm trying to think. I feel like there's just been so much on my feed lately that it's all becoming a jumble in my brain.
trying to pick something out. You're like, oh, it was, and then there was, and then there was, and then there was. Oh yeah, okay. And then you have to find something good.
Exactly. I feel like my For You page on TikTok is so full of the politics right now that I can't pinpoint something great that has happened in the last few days.
I have a couple for you. So, just locally, we did stopped a bunch of timber sales here. So we did a bunch of calls in, and so it's one of those things where those things don't always work. California just tried the same thing with to get rid of some a solar farm that was going to get built, and they did not. Were not able to stop it. So some of those work, sometimes those don't. But that was one where I was like, see, like I keep telling people, it's just the collective action. As far as politics, can't yeah, because I wasn't really prepared for politics. So there's quite a few court cases which have come in the favor of freedom recently. So that's kind of what I'm hanging my hat on. And of course, we will soon. I think everybody right now is just holding their breath. We'll see what happens in this next month. Um, as far as the releasing of files, and I just keep saying, yeah, like, we just have to get it out so we can start fixing it. Like this is not something where you just keep hitting. So that I think that's going to be right now. I feel like everybody's kind of like, and of course today's topic is children. Protecting children, and that's one of those things where I was like, no, guys, like we've done the brain science now, and the brain science says it's 27. So if you guys want to start arguing about like when and where the rules could get a lot more complicated, it could be 27 because that's when we know the brain stops. So, really people need to follow the rules. The idea that Megan Kelly said that those aren't children was just like, what? Yes, they are. That's the way that we've always said it, 18. I know certain states have other rules. Washington State, I think you can still get married at 16. And I just am like, no, there shouldn't be any loopholes. I don't care if parents approve. I don't care this or that. If you really love someone, I don't understand why you can't wait. If it's forever, I'm having a hard time understanding why 2 or 3 years is something that people can't wait through, especially when sometimes it's months. I'm just like, guys, come on. We have rules, and some of those rules are hard and fast for a reason. So I know I'm really looking forward to that just getting released so that we can all, get past that, go in there. They can go ahead and look at that. They can try to redact that however they want to. But this is 2025. That's that's just not the way it's going to work. So I mean, if the more they try to hide information, the worse I think it's going to get. Which is, what it's come down to right now is it just gets worse and worse. So I'm very much looking forward to that finally coming out so that we can, start cleaning up the system that we know has figures in it who are not taking care of children and who are in positions of power who should not be in positions of power. So that is something that, as far as politics, I'm kind of waiting on that too. So um and that'll be good news when I mean, that's good news for me when they voted for it. I was like, ah, finally, this is ridiculous. This whole thing has just been ridiculous. So we did get really in the weeds with that. I don't want to get too into the weeds with that. I do have another one where it says literally, we're not going to get sucked into the black hole of sin and Adam and Eve and stuff like that. But that is something that the protection of children, as someone takes care of children, I was like, oh no, and whoever's on that list has to get investigated. That's just the way it is. So I'm sorry, like especially people who were with him after he got in trouble. I was like, oh no, you already knew because I've had a friend who had an incident like that. She actually had a whole wonderful foundation called Fighting for Me for a while, where she helped all the victims and the perpetrator. She really worked on like holistic justice, and that was something that we went through with her was just like disavowing like her family member that had done it, and then now we're not hanging out with him anymore, and there's just the whole thing, and that's what you're supposed to do. So people who hung out afterwards too, it's just kind of like, oh man, guys, you really, really, really are they need to be fully investigated. I know that they did the full investigation with Andrew, and Andrew's already, on house arrest and has moved out of his castle to some smaller castle. But that's those are the things that need to happen is we need to go ahead and get this out. So I don't want to get too into the weeds of that, but that is something that I am looking forward to coming out. So let's see. Like now I'm like, oh, where's my notes? Let's see, where are we? um, oh, so the example that I have for children is we're talking about children and how children are you're doing a great job, parents. Like you really, it's really a lot of stress. One of the coolest examples I saw of people who are interested in not having children is John Cena, and he put that probably the best. And what probably my biggest thing for this show is that if you want children, you should have children. If it's something like money is stopping you, make the plans and then have the children. But if something like time is your issue, then that's where you really want to make sure that you get that, because children's most important thing they're going to need from you is love, and that love takes time, that takes patience, caring takes time. John Cena, which is just crazy, I saw I think yesterday or this morning, was discussing the same topic. Someone asked him, hey, why don't you have kids? And he's like, I don't have kids because I've been on the road for 40 days straight, and I'm going to be on the road for another 20 days straight. As I understand it, children require love. And if I'm on the road for 40, 60 days, I'm not able to give them that love and attention that a child really requires. And so until I'm in a position where I can give that to a child, I'm not going to be having children. And I was like, snap, snap. That's exactly what it is. You just want to make sure that you're in a position to have children, that you're in a position, financially, if that's the really important thing, that is a thing. We do need money to have houses and buy food and diapers and things like that. But to making sure that you're in a position emotionally, spiritually, and time wise, that you have the time to give to children, because that's what they're going to require the most of. It's just your time and your patience and understanding for them to develop into well rounded beings. Because again, children are our newest creatures. They're newest beings sung into form. They're stardust, just like us, only they're brand new. So remembering that, whether or not we are contributing to their vibration of growth, or we're contributing to disrupting their vibrational song and not allowing them to grow into their fullest being. With that, we're going to take our first break. I'm Nicole on Love and Lightning, and we'll be back on the topic of your child an ass. You may have a problem. Love and Lightning. I'm your host, Nicole. In the back, we have Sierra keeping it all going, my producer. Thank you guys so much for coming back and joining me on this episode that I really, really was super excited to do for for months. And I'm like telling myself to calm down or I may like miss the script too much. So one of the biggest things that I've talked about in the first episode, my first part, was that parents are very stressed. That's one of the biggest things we have, is that parents seem very stressed. I have friends and they have older children and they're super stressed running around doing, 4 or 5 different sports for them or events for them. Then we have the younger parents who are stressed about whether or not they're doing a good enough job and they have to go to work and they have to leave the kids at daycare. And all of that is just creating a very stressful environment. But that is, again, inner creation, right? We've been talking about that throughout the series, that this is it's your inner world that you're putting out. So if you feel that super stressed all the time and I kids and I can't take care of it and so much stuff, then that comes out. I had a neighbor actually who this is hilarious. My mom laughs about this all the time. She was she stepped on her porch and her dogs were all running and she has 3 dogs and she goes, oh, I just can't handle this. And my mom was like, but you chose to have the dogs. And I was like, just like parents who choose to have the children. Like it's the same thing to me. So like remembering that like this is a choice, something that's supposed to be fun. And yeah, there's gonna be chaotic moments. And it's best to just take a breath and just relax. That it literally, and a lot of parents are doing a much better job of that. There's been a lot of generational chains being broken, where you see, videos of like parents where kids make a huge mess or something, and the parents, instead of coming in and scolding the kids, just go, hey, it's okay, but like, we can't do this. Like you can't draw on the walls like this. Let's go ahead and wash it out. We can't, oh, there's flour all over the floor. Let's play with it, but then let's put it away because, that's food and we need that. One of the coolest examples I remember hearing was a parent who was talking about, he got all these cool white lava rocks to decorate the yard. He was showing the kids how, you can draw on the concrete with those white lava rocks and it's like chalk. And then he hears a strange noise a couple days later, and he goes outside, and his kid is drawing on the car with the rock. And his our first instinct is, ah! But instead, he just walked over and was like, "Oh, hey, wow, that's a great drawing you're doing." Because he had, of course, showed him how to draw all Marriott, and the kid didn't know not to draw in the car. And he was like, "Hey, but this is like, not where we draw it with this. We're going to draw with it on the concrete." Because the kid isn't being bad on purpose. One of the early examples from a family member, excuse me, was something similar where the parent told them, "Hey, can you take this jar into the house? Make sure not to roll it down the driveway because if you roll it down the driveway, it'll break." Now, we know now, this parent didn't know then, but we know now that science says kids don't hear the don't part, just like the universe. That's where they came from. So they don't hear the don't part. They just heard the "it'll break if it rolls down the hill." And they go, "Huh, will it?" And so she took it over and rolled down the hill. Of course, it broke and she got a spanking. But that is both something that we know now, that children are not processing the way that we process it. So faulting the parent for that and faulting the child for that are both, is kind of more of a funny, sad story, but understanding that neither one of them are at fault. And so the understanding to the parents, there are going to be things that you are going to learn as you get older, as you go through spending time studying will make you feel better about it. Being like, "Oh yeah, I try to keep up to date," but you are very busy. And it's a lot of stuff. So just keeping those things in mind, not to get too stressed out because it is going to be fun. Remembering that time is one of those things, it's an illusion, but your emotions are not. So the being stressed out about time, being stressed out about, getting things done, about bills, all of that is leaks out into your children. And that's what they notice. So keeping those things in mind that you want to like go slower, that you want to have more time. One of the things that definitely was an issue with me and something I see with parents is that they're so busy with all their time that they forget that their children everything's new. So the child's walking slowly through the parking lot looking up at the sky. The sky is still very new. Children walking around, taking off their shoes, putting them back on, like all of that is all new. Those are all new things. So there are times when they're just going to do things that take time. And so that's why the biggest thing for parents, I think, is to remember that you want to have time for your children, and to relax and remember that the other stuff is not nearly as important as spending that time and care and slowing down with your children, so that they can ask the questions and so you have time to answer them. So I think those are things that really, for parents nowadays, is just the biggest thing is there's just so many responsibilities, and so many things pulling at your time all the time. Uh, Money is, of course, a big reason why parents who don't have children. It's one of the reasons why I do cite sometimes that I don't have children is that children are expensive, but that I literally can make the money choice if I wanted to. I could divert funds from other things and have children. And so money is not like your top reason if you're someone who's considering kids. Money should not be one of the top reasons why you don't have them. But your time again should. The time to give them love, the time to give them understanding, and that may be tied with money, right? That you have to spend so much time with work. As John Cena was saying, he said he has tons of great opportunities, tons of wonderful things to do, and so those things are taking away his time, and he wouldn't have that time to give those to the children. Um, with children, the other thing that's biggest thing that you can do besides remembering that your emotions, like guys, remembering that you're their biggest role model. We'll talk about this in the next segment about how many other role models there are for them, but you are their biggest and first role model, and they talk about that a lot. And so remembering that, it's hard to be mindful all the time, but remembering that they are watching all the time. And so we've got a great video for that. It's like one of my favorites recently. Sierra, can you play that great little Instagram clip?
Of course, here it comes.
Mommy, are you okay? Breathe, Mommy. Stop slamming my stuff. That's not enough. Stop slamming my stuff. I just can't.
Sit down.
Who bought this here?
Here.
Oh my god.
Kiwi,
Hey.
toast, toast.
God damn.
There. Eat. Put it in.
I can't open it. What's wrong with you?
Look.
Hey, Mom, look at it. Red banana right here. Huh? Good time, kids. And you treat a fork like that?
Here.
funny.
Just kidding.
Be nice. Come back. Be nice. Be nice. Damn. That was so loud. What was that for? Look. What's that scary?
Sit down.
Mommy.
By far my favorite, because the whole family's just in such shock, like, what's happened? And so remembering that children are picking up on that. So obviously, most of those moms do not serve their children in such an angry manner. So it was shocking to them. But you can see how that could become something that's normal, like maybe a stressed out month becomes a stressed out quarter, becomes a stressed out year. And before you know it, you're not in the habit of doing things nicely with your children. And they're going to protest at first, maybe especially if they have been well rounded, had a lot of time and feel that they are able to. But they also are going to quickly be adapt to the situation. Humans are really good at adapting, and children are literally just pulling their cues from you. You're like, oh, okay, so this is the way we're gonna have this is the way it's gonna happen. That boy that rips the bag apart is literally the best because he's like, oh, we're angry. All right, then I'm angry too. I'm just gonna tear stuff up too with you, mom. And so like that, how quickly those energies pass on to us. And I think that's probably one of the best videos to show how the energies can pass from us to our children. This is something that I have people in my life too who like won't serve food, won't take food from people when they're angry. They're like, no, like I'm not gonna don't cook for me if you're angry. Like I will cook myself or order something myself. I'm not gonna deal with like angry food. And now we know that a lot of the like molecules and qubits are all in there listening. So that anger does trigger something. It could twist something in there the same way that love and light could pull it back and bring it to the other way. So remembering how that stress is affecting both the children before and after birth. We have just a little tidbit in there from Jehovah's Witnesses is the after birth thing because the Bible talks about the life begins at the first breath. And so just for those of you who have ever wondered about that, want to take a closer look at that, the Bible is pretty clear about the abortion issue and the breath issue when babies are born. And there's several times where they okay abortion. There's even a whole like spell in there for the priest to do when a husband thinks his wife is being unfaithful and she got pregnant from another man. He can like give her a drink that will make her lose the baby. So just some things to like check out. I don't want to get too into the weeds on that one. That one also was like too not good in the weeds. But the idea that the most important thing is when they're born is that we love them and take care of them. And that is something that is not just for our parents, but it's for the entire community. So we talk about the role models, but the role models they're getting aren't just from their parents. As they get older and they get more and more out in the world, they're going to be influenced by all the other things that are out there in the world. And so that's what's important. You can control that a little bit. You can control your kids' outer world. I was in a cult. My outer world was very controlled. Dabbling in school was, those people were worldly and I wasn't going to be friends with them. And that was the way I was taught. So you can do a really good job of controlling your kids' inner world. But is that the best option? Or is the best option to let them experience the world and have them understand they can come back to you with questions about it when things seem strange, when things seem not to click, when things just don't seem right, that they have the feeling that there's a safe place where they can come back to that parent or that person who takes care of them and express, hey, I heard this at school or I saw this on TV and I was just wondering about it. And that was something that with my family did a really good job of. My mom oftentimes sat with us and watched TV with us, or she was pretty good about answering questions that we had about TVs or celebrities and things like that without giving too much of the inner judgment. Jehovah's Witnesses, of course, would she would say her Jehovah's Witness part, but that ability to believe that I could come to her and talk with her about issues is something that you do want your child to have, while them understanding that hey, you're going to set them on the course they need to go on to, not copies, but giving them good role models. With that, we're going to take a little break and we're going to come back with a African proverb which talks about how each and every one of us are responsible for the raising of the children, not just the parents. When we come back on Love and Lightning Transformation Talk Radio. with the topic of your child's an ass. The first step is admitting may have a problem, but probably not, guys. Children say and do things that are shocking to us. They're stubborn, they don't want to listen. They're new beings coming into the world, and they want to express themselves and get to learn the world in their own terms. Of course, we want them to be safe and we want them to learn the proper way to like handle the world. But a lot of that is cultural things that we are trying to press onto the children. Uh, with that, hey Sierra, can you play this video we have? This video, oh, it's really one of those times where you find an anime backstory, and as someone who just I just finished My Hero Academia, and they just showed one of the characters' backstories. He's just a bad. He was literally born a bad baby. So sometimes that happens, but sometimes extenuating circumstances like this change a child.
Here's what he told me. He said, my father was in the siege, and they would be on the front lines for 3 or 4 days, and they would get, some time off. So he had time off, Putin's father. And Putin's father was walking back to their apartment, and he walked past a pile of bodies because they were trying to prevent plague and other diseases from decimating the population even further. And he sees what he believes to be his wife's leg with her shoe on, which he recognized. And he just reacts, he goes over, he starts trying to pull this body out of the pile of bodies, and the body collector is screaming at him, stop it, get away from there. And he says, no, that's my wife, I know it's my wife, and he keeps trying to pull her out. And finally the body collector said, well, just take her body, but then you have to return it, you have to get rid of the body. So he took her, and she was alive. And he took her back to their apartment and nursed her back to health. And then a few years later, Vladimir Putin was born. So he tells me this story, and I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this explains so much. In some people, that kind of trauma makes them feel like never again, no war. We have to be more compassionate and caring. We have to help people. And in some people, it makes them think, I'm going to be on the side that wins. And it just spoke to me about what was really going on in, Putin's mind, and what we're now facing in Ukraine, and what we would face if we don't stop him in Ukraine.
I heard that a few months ago, and it's like I said, as someone who is always like, hey, like guys, be really careful. I don't think we should put people to death. I think we really should like let the universe take care of it. That because we don't know the whole story. We never can know the whole story about someone's each little event that creates that person that they become. But we can have a hand in those events. So the African proverb is that a child will burn down the village to feel the warmth. So a child who is unloved, who feels, that they are unworthy, or feels pushed towards being a certain thing, that they're gonna do what they need to do to feel love. And so, as we're currently thinking about politics, think about Putin, Trump, other figures in our history, current history and past history, who acted in a way that seemed inhuman. Sure, like My Hero Academia, which I think is the first time I've ever seen a evil baby. I don't think I've ever seen an evil baby in anime where literally his story was he was born and was like, yeah, I was born. I killed my mom and took my brother and was like, yeah, I'm the best here. And I was like, wow, that's so unusual. I was really hoping you had a sad backstory. But usually characters have stories like Putin's story. They have some guiding thing that makes them make choices where we all stare at them and go, but that seems very unkind. And they're like, no, that's the most kind way to be. It's the way that I know and the way that's going to lead to success. And so keeping that in mind and remembering that we each have a hand in how we're raising children, both his parents, but then when he got out in the world being told what type of man he should be, what type of person you should be. Boys being told not to have emotions, to give up. Oh, I just heard the most wonderful poem about giving up empathy for apathy, that they have to be stoic. And that one of my favorite songs is Be a Man. And that whole song is talking about you just need to stop having emotions and do what you need to do. And that's not human. And that's not the way that we know we need to be raising our boys anymore. That we need to be raising our boys with compassion and love and understanding, and an equal society where they feel like they can express themselves when they're having issues and not feel like they should go to their room or go by themselves to handle it, but they realize that other people are going to come to their aid and are going to comfort them and, give them love and caring when they're having those issues. Uh, some of the other pitfalls with raising children, just some small things, just little clippies. We talked a little bit about the ship being safer inshore, that's true, but that's not where your children, not where the ship is supposed to be. So remember that your children were going to want to encourage them to go out and be the world. They're not supposed to be your copies, and they're not supposed to give you comfort. That's not their job, is to make sure that you feel like, oh, everything's gonna be okay. It's actually the opposite. They're supposed to go off and tell you about their crazy dreams, and you're supposed to be like, yeah, oh, be safe. But that you're encouraging your children. I was talking on the break about one of friends of mine who, they got married, and now they're older and they have kids, and she's still doing crazy things like cliff jumping and just really crazy fun stuff that she really enjoys, and how they're at a crossroads about that because she wants to continue doing that, and he's like, well, no, we have kids and you're too old and blah blah blah. And she's like, I'm gonna do this till I die. And he's like, no, you can't. But she's like, that's who I was when you married me. And so remember that the kids do come in with a personality. As someone that's met now thousands of children, they do come in with a personality, and there is only so much that your parents can do to change that personality, and so much you should want to. You want your children to be themselves and not feel like they're having to cover or curtail themselves to be out in the world. So that's one of the things where you're doing a balancing act with making sure that they are, able to be out in the world and able to socialize and, be in the world, but at the same time that you're not pushing all of your ideals and your traditions onto them, that you're letting your children, grow into the people they're needing to be. The gentle parenting thing is really wonderful. I, when it first came out, again, there was a lot of and I've watched it and I was like, no, I know that we were taught that you need to be the hard thing for your children so that the world doesn't crush them, but I don't think that's it. I think you need to be the safe harbor for your kids to come back to. So when there is something crushing out in the world, they know they can come back to you. That they know, hey, there's a safe place, and that they are able to build that safe place because they know your safe place. They're able to build those other safe harbors in other locations so that when you're gone, which you someday will be, that they're able to enjoy and still be their truest selves. So I think that's much more, what I encourage parents to do. You can be the coach, you can be the one that's hard on them, but is that really the relationship you want? It's kind of like, do you want the relationship with your elderly parents to be the relationship of you being their nurse, or do you want to keep the relationship of you being their child? And so those are just things where you have to figure out for your own sake which one is going to work. But my encouragement is for parents to not, is for parents to let coaches be coaches, and for parents to really be that safe harbor, not their best friend, but not their enemy, to where they know they can come to you and you're going to give them advice that will help them to better cope with the world that they're in. And that's really what children are asking for most of the time, is to be able to come to you and express themselves, and for you to also encourage them to express themselves while maybe guiding them towards a way if they're doing something that seems a little dangerous or seems a little bit maybe unsafe for the world, but at the same time understanding that they're going to do it. My family is always laughing because they're like, no politics, Nikki, no politics. And so you guys keep saying that, and it keeps popping into my head. Politics. So, keeping those things in mind. Hey, don't date that boy, don't date that boy, don't date that boy, will probably make the girl date the boy. That there is something in children and in humans. It doesn't go away, as people think that goes away, but I literally watch these old people do the same thing. I don't know how many of you are dealing with your parents and being like my friend said, these old people don't listen. So it's not something that fades, it's something that continues. And so understanding that that is something that your children have and that you want to encourage them while at the same time not making demands on them, not being uh too certain that you know what the future is, because we really don't. When I was a kid, there were certain safe bets. I can't remember what they were, what they are now. This whole generation has been doing coding. Coding was a safe bet. You could do coding, and now coding is fixing to not be the safe bet. We have people who make money. The stormers, my sister watches them, and they jump across buildings. They get hired for stunt work, and they make millions on YouTube. You've got the streamers making money. You've got the professional faller. I think I've mentioned him before, and he like falls, just like falls like professionally off of things. It's strange and cool, but he gets paid to do that. So you don't actually know what it is that your children could do or what the future holds. So the best thing to do is just to encourage them as much as possible and to make sure that you're reminding them that you have a safe place to come back to if there are any issues in the future. With that, we're going to take a little break. We'll be back with Love and Lightning on Transformation Talk Radio, and we'll see you soon. Welcome back to Love and Lightning on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm Nicole Pelham, and oh my gosh, this hour went so fast. I realized I didn't get to talk about, well, honestly, it was just Peter Griffin and how he's a horrible parent. And how, that versus gentle parenting, that was actually a thing. So, like, hey, great job, guys. Way to break those generational curses. With that, Sierra, can you play today's homework?
That shit crushes your spirit. It really does. It crushes.
When's the last time most people were actually afraid? Like when's the last time people faced actual fear, particularly physical danger, like anything where they could actually get hurt?
Why should they experience it?
Because I think that if you don't experience real fear from time to time, you don't experience real danger and other things, then your mind just sort of creates fears out of nothing. I mean, like I see that, like when I travel, like when I'm in airports, I always hear people like stressing the travel experience, like, oh, what do we do with security? What do we do here? Like, what if we miss the flight? And you're like, chill. You're like, you're in a climate-controlled airport. There's food everywhere. There's abundance all around you. Like, whatever. If you show up 3 hours late, like, who cares? Like, how could you get so worked up about things that do not matter? So I think that the more real experiences you have with real fear, real danger, things like that, the less likely you are to make mountains out of molehills, to worry about the stuff that doesn't matter.
So the documentary is called Free Solo. Me and Sarah were talking about it. It is a fantastic documentary. It will make you stressed. I don't know who it wouldn't make stressed, because he has a brain thing which allows his brain. A lot of us do. A lot of people have like who like really like jump out of planes and cliff diving and like play with alligators. We have like our dopamine levels are different, so we like those high level things because they're like our spikes for normal people. But the whole movie is just you just he's climbing El Capitan without any ropes. It's claimed like 15 lives in the last 20 years or something like that. People have fallen and with harnesses and stuff. So he's climbing it without, and the whole movie is just fantastic. Both learning about his life, learning about his family, his girlfriend, his mom, his poor mama. As my mom would say, his poor mama. But how they allow him to be him while still supporting him and letting him still understanding that they are stressed, and they are worried that he could get hurt, but at the same time they're allowing him to be his freest self, his freest soul. So it's a really really great movie. I definitely recommend watching this documentary, and it's the homework, so do your homework. But yeah, the whole movie is really just the whole time you're just kind of tensed up. And this is someone who like I said, I play with alligators, I jump out of airplanes, I cliff dive, I do all sorts of fun stuff. My best viral video is me playing with an alligator. I'm not playing with him, but I'm like walking beside him. And so thought he was cool. My mom can't even watch it. My poor mama. But anyway, it's just really, really a wonderful, wonderful movie. Sierra, what did you think of that movie? I mean, documentary.
It caused me a lot of anxiety, but I also found it very cool because I really, not the same at all. I love indoor bouldering and I do it quite often. So I don't think I could do it outside, even on an actual rock. I feel like I would hurt myself. But it's very interesting and he's a cool guy.
Hmm. They were doing bouldering in Australia when we went there. I was too injured to try it, but there was this whole kangaroo cliff where everybody's doing rock climbing and bouldering and stuff like that on that, and it was pretty cool. My sister likes it. There's an indoor place actually opening, like I don't even know, maybe a mile from here. So we're probably gonna go play there a lot. My sister really likes bouldering, so we will go do that. I like it. Mountain climbing is just not on my list of things. Like even when I watch Everest and stuff, I go, wow, cool, no interest. It could be the cold. It could be that it just I'm like, you guys are crazy. You know how cold that is? And then there's bodies all over the place. Nah, no, thank you. Just not big into mountain climbing, but I'll jump out of a plane and then I'm trying to get my deep cert. I'm trying to get to my adventure cert. I have my first certification for scuba diving, so I can go down like 60 meters or something like that. But I really want to get my adventure cert. So I can go really go down deep and go into shipwrecks and stuff like that. So different strokes for different folks. I definitely love my crazy, crazy things. You doing anything fun for the upcoming holiday? I just realized it's literally in 2 days.
Yeah, I am. Well, I'll be at one of my parents' house for the morning because we eat Thanksgiving food, like early dinner, late lunch type of thing.
Oh,
And then
good.
going to my partner's house because they eat their Thanksgiving at like 9, 10 p.m. So I'm gonna have two Thanksgivings in one day.
You might even need a midday meal. Sounds like you need a midday meal.
I don't know about that. Sounds like a
I'm
lot of
not a
food.
big eater. So it's like Thanksgiving is such a weird holiday for me. Like I wasn't a big eater, our family's not big eaters, and then we weren't Joe Witnesses don't celebrate Thanksgiving. And it's one of those weird holidays where I'm always like, yeah, I know the history, guys. But it's good to have a day off with your family. I'm like, why waste the day off? If they're gonna give me a day off, I'll take it. So it's one of those holidays, but we are not big eaters. We usually actually make like chili and a pie. That's like our family's Thanksgiving. And then maybe we'll go to a movie if everybody is feeling good. But that's like that's like it. We don't really like do a big crazy thing. I'm gonna be participating in the mass blackout and the boycotts already been doing that honestly all year. Really have been cutting down on my buying of items and things like that. But there is a mass blackout right now if you want to look that up, which is talking about buying local, making sure that you can do lots of other stuff. So fixing up your friends or family's houses, excuse me. I'm doing an ornament exchange in my daycare so parents can bring their ornaments there in bags of the single color, so red or blue or whatever, and then they can trade that for the color they want instead of having to buy more plastic junk every year. So I'm sure that you guys have some other wonderful ideas, but that is something that, really right now where we need to get the system changed. We are going to need basic universal income. That is going to be required. And there's some states where they've outlawed that already. So we really have to get a handle on the corporations. Um, if you look back to old corporations, they really used to pay a lot more money. I believe if I'm correct, I believe in the 1920s that it was on a dollar profit. 90% went back in taxes and they kept 10% and they still had all that money and they still would have all that money now. So just getting things back equal, getting things to where we are taking care of the people, taking care of the children, taking care of the adults, taking care of the environment. All those things are possible when we get a hold of this greed, and that's kind of the biggest thing right now is really making sure that people can get a hold of the greed and realize what things are most important and money that paper cotton Guys, it literally, we have us still fighting over cotton. And we don't have to. There's so many ways for us to help each other in the community and take care of each other. And yeah, you're still gonna have to spend money and buy things. You have to buy food and stuff like that, pay rent. But other ways that you can help out the community and make sure that the dollars stay here and the energy and love stays here in the community. And if each community does that, it'll build wonderful communities of love and justice and happiness all over. So there's a couple communities that are doing this. Bhutan, if you never heard of Bhutan, you should check out Bhutan. They have a national industry index of happiness instead of the GDP. And then there are quite a few European countries that are doing this similar model where they're going to be focused instead of on how much money their community can make, on how happy their people are in their community. So there is a change. The Great Awakening is definitely coming, and it's coming because it starts from within. Thank you guys so much for coming. This is the second to last show. So next show, will just be kind of a player recap with some like little spigots here and there. Make sure to keep an eye out for my book, Your Child's an Ass. The first step is admitting you may have a problem. And my other book, Love and Lightning, Spirituality in Action, that will be coming out in 2026. With that, I'm going to let you go. Remember to ask the universe, listen to the spirits, and let the qubits guide your way toward your highest and greatest timeline. Love and Lightning out. Thank you for listening to Love and Lightning with Nicole. Catch us every second and fourth Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. If today lit something inside you, subscribe, share, or like, and spread the spark. Ready to be inspired? Take next steps? Check us out at loveandlightning.com. Check out my books, music, upcoming events, and let's stay connected on my social media. You can find me at Bad Vegan Nikki or lovealightning.com. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.